So it's not quite been 10 billion years, and it's Finkelstein. Anyway, this young woman before asked about a date in 1994, but I'm going to beat that. Who remembers anything about December 2nd, 1983? Anybody what happened on that day? Anyway, it was actually the world premiere of Michael Jackson's Thriller video on MTV. And I will never forget because my buddy Tim took me to a party at a girl's house. This is in Athens. I was a senior. And I met Ellen there. And she was actually dating Tim, so that wasn't going to happen anything that night. But in February of '84, we ran into each other at the library. Of course, I was in the break room. And I asked her out. She said yes. So we've been pretty much together for 40 years. Wow. So hot and heavy. You can imagine how I was feeling back in February, March, my senior year. I had a big job waiting for me in New York City, and Ellen had actually transferred back. She was going to go to Emory, so I was coming back. Well, she wasn't there yet. I was coming back to Macon from Athens like every weekend. But definitely hot and heavy. So let's fast forward about 38 years, and we're down here in Macon, and I'm just basically starting the worst, most horrendous period of my life, just racked with debilitating anxiety and depression. I mean, so much so that it got to the point where I just wouldn't get out of bed. I don't think I showered. I never had a real plan to kill myself, but I prayed every night that I wouldn't wake up the next day. It was just horrific. It was a big year. I was turning, in 22, I was turning 60. My son Will, who a lot of you know, Finkelstein, was getting his master's in city planning from the University of Illinois. And we're coming up on our 30th anniversary. So we had all these things planned, and it just got awful. I mean, I remember going out to Illinois and literally arguing with Ellen vehemently when we were leaving that we were going to the wrong airport. That wasn't the airport we flew into. I mean, the craziness, the paranoia, everything going on. And I am amazed that she hung in there. And basically, she found out, not through my doctor, who is pretty pathetic, she found out from a friend of her sister's friend about something called ECT, which is electroconvulsive therapy. And there's only one place in Macon now. I mean, it used to be offered, and there used to be all kinds of horror stories that people think about, people getting their brains fried. But there's a woman, Dr. Tomac, here in Macon at Coliseum. And Ellen got me in there, and this is like in 2022. September, October, and you go like 3-4 times a week for a couple of weeks, then you 3 times, 2 times a week, 1 time a week, like that. And about a month into it, it was like I woke up. I mean, literally, it was like a shade just was came open. One of my paranoias was food. I mean, anything like that had an expiration date on it. If I saw it at the store, they were lying. It was already, expired. They just had an expiration date in the future because they had to sell it. Just crazy thinking. And I remember after this treatment, the ECT literally lasts like 1 minute, but you're there all day, and you're under with anesthesia. You couldn't eat, from the night before. So after you kind of came to and you were taken back to the room, they'd bring you a sack lunch. It'd be a turkey sandwich, a drink, some chips. And I just no way in hell I was going to eat that sandwich because obviously it was some leftover from the general hospital, and who knows what it was. And as I said, about a month in one day, I looked at that sandwich, I just wolfed that down. I'm like, hey, do you have any more? It was the craziest thing. So, as Ellen likes to say, I came back to town in about November, around Thanksgiving time, a little before in 2022. And I have to say that, looking back now, I was depressed definitely for years before that, not debilitating, but I can remember we had friends in Atlanta, and I'd ask her, why don't we see Grant and his wife and family anymore? And she's like, they invited us to their house for their Christmas, New Year's party every year, but you never wanted to go. And stuff like that just blows my mind. Why wouldn't I have wanted to go? And I guess I could rationalize and think, oh my God, the idea of having to drive to Atlanta and pack and do all. I mean, bottom line is this last year and a half has been the greatest of my life. And the thing is, I am so freaking in love with with Ellen right now. And you know, sometimes I think that maybe I'm coming on too strong to her. And again, I mean, we went to a wedding in February, and it was cousins, daughters, bat mitzvah. You know, we had a cousin from California, and he has a baby, and he was just like, "Do you guys ever take your freaking hands off each other?" You know, we're in the synagogue, and it's just like, so. Anyway,
I know that's right.
the feelings I had for Ellen in December, well, I guess you could say in February and beyond of '83, I have those same feelings now, which is just freaking crazy and so awesome, so wonderful.
Hi,